George Clooney, one of Hollywood's most recognized faces and a long-standing advocate for progressive causes, created a seismic moment in American pop culture and politics when he openly confronted President-elect Donald Trump live on television. It was an exchange that resonated far beyond the immediate audience, capturing the collective attention of a nation grappling with stark political divisions. Clooney, known for his charisma and measured demeanor, stepped out of his usual realm of entertainment to deliver a critique that was as pointed as it was unforgettable. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The backdrop for this dramatic confrontation was a televised panel discussion broadcast on a major network. The setting was electric, charged with anticipation and controversy as discussions about Trump's presidency dominated the media. Clooney's presence on the panel, initially thought to be a celebrity angle on political discourse, quickly morphed into something much more consequential. His voice, calm yet firm, cut through the clamor with a level of gravitas that commanded attention. This wasn't just a Hollywood actor offering his 2 cents. It was an impassioned citizen laying bare the stakes of what Trump's presidency could mean for the nation. Clooney began by addressing Trump's rhetoric during his campaign, dissecting the language that had resonated with large swaths of the electorate, but alienated others. Clooney's words carried weight because they were backed by years of activism and global humanitarian work. He framed Trump's approach as dangerously divisive, suggesting that the president-elect's tactics of exploiting societal rifts could have long-term implications for national unity. Clooney's critique wasn't just an abstract philosophical argument. It was rooted in tangible fears about how such leadership could affect policies on immigration, healthcare, and civil rights. As the confrontation escalated, the cameras captured Clooney's impassioned delivery and unwavering eye contact with the moderator. His tone reflected frustration and urgency, but it was never shrill. He drew attention to the implications of Trump's rise, particularly for marginalized communities. Clooney questioned how a country so deeply founded on principles of inclusion and equality could reconcile with a leader whose campaign had thrived on exclusionary narratives. This line of argument was particularly striking, as it went beyond the usual political critiques to delve into the very soul of American identity. What made Clooney's takedown especially compelling was his ability to balance his criticisms with an acknowledgement of the underlying discontent among Trump's supporters. He didn't dismiss their concerns outright, but instead highlighted the systemic failures that had fueled their anger and mistrust. Clooney argued that the real tragedy wasn't just Trump's election, but the conditions that had allowed his polarizing message to resonate with so many Americans. It was a sobering reminder that political leaders don't rise in a vacuum. They are products of their times, shaped by the fears and frustrations of their constituents. Throughout the exchange, Clooney avoided personal attacks, focusing instead on the broader implications of Trump's policies and leadership style. This approach lent his arguments an air of credibility and seriousness that transcended partisan bickering. Clooney spoke about the erosion of democratic norms, warning that the normalization of inflammatory rhetoric could lead to a dangerous weakening of institutional checks and balances. He painted a vivid picture of a future where truth and accountability were increasingly malleable, manipulated to serve the interests of those in power. One of the most striking moments came when Clooney addressed the media's role in Trump's rise. He criticized the relentless coverage that had often prioritized sensationalism over substance, arguing that this had helped amplify Trump's platform. Clooney called for greater responsibility among journalists and media organizations, urging them to hold leaders accountable rather than simply chase ratings. This critique resonated deeply as it forced viewers to confront their own complicity in consuming and perpetuating the spectacle. As Clooney's words reverberated across the studio, it was clear that he had struck a nerve. The audience, initially divided in its reactions, began to show signs of reflection and engagement. Even those who might have disagreed with Clooney's politics couldn't deny the thoughtfulness and conviction behind his arguments. His ability to articulate complex issues in a way that was both accessible and compelling underscored why he had become such a respected voice in public discourse. The implications of Clooney's televised confrontation were profound. By leveraging his celebrity status to engage with pressing political issues, he demonstrated the power of cultural figures to shape public opinion and influence the national conversation. Clooney's critique wasn't just an isolated event, it was part of a larger trend where artists and entertainers were increasingly stepping into the political arena. This blurring of lines between Hollywood and politics reflected a broader cultural shift, one where traditional boundaries of influence were being challenged and redefined. Clooney's takedown of Trump also highlighted the growing polarization within American society. The stark contrast between his vision of unity and Trump's divisive rhetoric mirrored the broader ideological chasm that had come to define the political landscape. This confrontation wasn't just about two individuals, it was a microcosm of a nation at a crossroads, grappling with questions about its identity, values, and future direction. The timing of Clooney's critique added to its impact. With Trump's inauguration just weeks away, the stakes felt particularly high. Clooney's words served as a rallying cry for those who feared the potential consequences of Trump's presidency. His emphasis on accountability and vigilance resonated with audiences who were determined to resist the erosion of democratic norms. At the same time, his acknowledgement of systemic failures and the need for dialogue offered a glimmer of hope for bridging divides and finding common ground. Clooney's confrontation also raised important questions about the role of celebrities in political discourse. While some critics dismissed his comments as the predictable musings of a liberal Hollywood elite, others saw his intervention as a necessary act of conscience. Clooney's willingness to use his platform to address critical issues demonstrated the potential for celebrities to contribute meaningfully to public debates, provided they approach these issues with humility, knowledge, and a genuine commitment to the common good. The event became an instant cultural touchstone, sparking discussions in households, workplaces, and online forums across the country. It wasn't just Clooney's words that resonated, it was the passion and clarity with which he delivered them. His critique of Trump transcended partisanship, speaking to universal concerns about leadership, morality, and the future of democracy. For many viewers, Clooney's confrontation was a wake-up call, a moment of clarity in a time of uncertainty and upheaval. While the immediate reaction to Clooney's comments varied, the long-term implications were undeniable. By challenging Trump's rhetoric and policies on such a public stage, Clooney contributed to a broader movement of resistance and accountability. His words reminded audiences of the power of civic engagement and the importance of speaking out against injustice, even in the face of formidable opposition. Clooney's confrontation with Trump was more than just a clash of personalities. It was a defining moment in the intersection of culture and politics. It underscored the potential for public figures to influence the national conversation and hold leaders accountable. It also highlighted the deep divisions within American society and the urgent need for dialogue and understanding. As the dust settled, one thing was clear. Clooney's words had left an indelible mark on the political and cultural landscape, challenging Americans to reflect on their values and the future of their democracy. George Clooney's public challenge to President-elect Donald Trump didn't just captivate audiences, it ignited a broader conversation about the responsibilities of leadership, the fragility of democracy, and the power of individual action. While the confrontation itself dominated headlines, its ripples extended far beyond the immediate spectacle, touching on themes that transcended the moment and spoke to the heart of a nation at a crossroads. Clooney's ability to articulate the urgency of these issues in such a high-profile forum underscored the power of voices willing to rise above the fray to advocate for principle and justice. At the core of Clooney's confrontation was a profound concern for the future of democratic norms in the United States. By directly addressing Trump's incendiary campaign tactics and the normalization of divisive rhetoric, Clooney forced viewers to consider the long-term consequences of such strategies. Democracy, he implied, isn't just a set of institutions, it's a culture, a shared understanding that thrives on respect, dialogue, and mutual accountability. When that culture is eroded by fear-mongering and scapegoating, the very foundation of democratic governance begins to crack. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on George Clooney's bold statements about Donald Trump? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.